What's up, guys? I wanted to discuss the topic of networking because I actually dawned on the fact that when I was about 18 years old, around then, is when I watched the official Tate How to Network course. And I think a lot has changed. I'm turning 22 in a couple days, and I've actually applied the principles. You know, I've done real life testing at the most extreme levels of entrepreneurship, of hustling, of networking in the craziest environments, around the craziest characters, billionaires, multimillionaires, celebrities in LA, in settings of corporate, like huge corporate guys, like every setting. I've really thoroughly bent the rigidity of that course. And I've seen a few others, but I really wanted to touch on how fucking good that was and why it's good and why you should implement it. So, one thing that Tate talked about in that networking course is that I only introduce somebody to someone else if it raises my status, right? I wouldn't introduce you to someone if you wouldn't raise my status. If I introduce someone and you're fucking retarded, well, how does that make me look? But if I introduce you to someone and you're a fucking G, then you're introduced to this person, they're like, oh, this is a binder. A G introduced a fucking G to a G, right? So a moneymaker introduced a moneymaker to a moneymaker. So that's the real importance of introductions. The more people you know, the more introductions you're gonna make. It's simple as that. And it is a real compounding effect. And that goes into my next thing, which is networking really is a compounding effect. When I first moved into my city, and in my city, I'm really well known now. When I first moved into my city, I was 18 years old. I moved out of my mom's house. I knew absolutely no one. Nobody in the city knew who I am. But I guarantee you, almost anywhere I go, I probably know someone, and most people know who I am in my city. I think that's baseline as a man. You should be known in your city. You should be a character. You should have some ground where you're living. Because if nobody knows you where you live, you're probably not doing anything that's really worth it. Like, you can... I mean, and some people will argue that. Like, there's crypto bros out there who fucking sit in their fucking basement all day and nobody knows them, and they make a ton of money, but like at what cost, you know? And some people want that life. I prefer, you know, I'm not friends with anyone. I'm not friends with everyone, but I'm acquainted with people. People know who I am. I've got some social credit. Like, I can walk around and I have some social credit to my name. Double-edged sword, but that's another topic. So that goes into compounding. So compounding is super important with networking. The more people you know, the more people you'll be introduced to. If I go into a bar or a restaurant or an environment and I know one person, more than likely I'm going to be introduced to another person. It's very hard to walk into a place unless you're super, like a super extroverted person. It's super hard to walk into somewhere and immediately just start talking to people you don't know or get into other conversations. Like, the way you can meet more people and the way you can actually build conversations, relationships with other people is if you're already known by somebody else and there's a binder, right? There has to be someone that binds that conversation, that relationship, that, you know, because most of the time people don't want to just talk to random people they don't know or trust. They don't know who the fuck is this guy, unless you have credit. I've met a lot of people through just being out there on the internet, being out there, being known, that people will come up to me and say, hey, I know this person, that person. Getting a call. Declined. But yeah, I think it's probably one of the most important things is to have a compounding interest in your networking. It's super important. Another thing that Tate talked about is the introductions for money or introductions for status. So going to the money aspect of it, if you want to be introduced to someone and there is no benefits, there is no benefit in that introduction, like if you know Drake, or like, that's not a bad example. Let's say you know a huge celebrity, right? And I want to be introduced to that person. Either I'm going to raise your status by you introducing me, or I'm going to pay you because that person doesn't really give a fuck who the fuck they meet because they're so well off. And that's a lot of the times people will pay to meet other people because it may benefit them in XYZ way, in business, this, whatever, right? So, networking. A lot of people like go to these networking events, and I think it's pretty stupid. Like, it's a bit weird if you're going to like these like seminars and you're like just wearing a suit and like trying to shake everybody's hand and they're all fucking lame. They're all doing fucking nothing. You're wasting time. Networking at the highest level is done in elite rooms where you can't even pay. You literally can't even pay to enter that room. You just have to be invited, or it has to be some sort of like status-based group, right? So those are the best rooms to be in that I find. I find that these paid networking events, these like networking events where it's like parties. Some of the best networking I've done are parties in LA, parties in like crazy places in the world, or places that there is a barrier to entry. That's the number one thing with your environment. Your environment's really going to depict who you know. And that's why these things like the city Miami effect is such a true statement, is because it's not like the city. The reason you're getting this effect is because the city you're in has these characters. You know, Miami has all these characters who are there. If you go meet these people there, you're going to be influenced by their whatever they're doing, their businesses, their ideas, and now you've got these stuff in your head, right? So if you're in, like, let's just say Memphis, Tennessee, there's not many entrepreneurs there. So more than likely, you're going to be friends with somebody who's not an entrepreneur, who's got a terrible mindset, who's got this, who's never done business. So you will have the Memphis effect, which is probably fucking terrible. So environment's super important. The restaurants, the gyms, the places you're at, you know, like how much does your gym cost? How much does this restaurant average meal cost? Who can afford it? It's just common sense at the end of the day. But networking is super important. And I hear Ty Lopez always tweet about it, that if you're doing bad, you should never become unsocial. I think that's the most true statement ever. I think you should double down on your confidence and get even more social, because that's when it literally doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't even matter. Anything, like any reckless shit you do, you could literally just go up to someone and be like, I hate your shirt, and, you know, start a conversation with them, because it doesn't matter. Nobody knows who you are. But just wanted to touch on that today. Peaked in my head. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Drop some comments